Good morning, kids. Welcome back to another virtual Sunday school lesson. My name is Mr. Mike, and I'm happy to be here again with you. I hope you're not getting tired of seeing me. I'm enjoying bringing these virtual lessons to you, and of course, here with my felt board. Definitely love this felt board. So hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. And we are finishing up, kind of wrapping up the story of Joseph. We talked about Joseph the past 2 weeks. And Joseph was mentioned a little bit today, but his story has pretty much been wrapped up. And we're going to talk about Moses now. So you know Moses. Everyone's heard about Moses at this point, probably. And Moses is a very important person in the Bible. And he is going to do some amazing things. So we are going to, like Joseph did some amazing things. Now Moses is going to do some amazing things through the grace of God, through God watching over him and giving him, these abilities to help his people. So we're going to go right into it. It is Easter. So happy Easter. It is so great to celebrate Easter. Of course, we enjoy the candy and the traditions that our families have, but we all know that Easter is about God and Jesus. It's about Jesus being on this earth, dying for our sins, and being our Savior, and taking that punishment for us. And so we celebrate Good Friday, and then we celebrate Easter morning and the resurrection. So it is a really, really cool time. It's a beautiful day, and I hope you guys are having a really, really awesome Easter. So we're going to have a little shorter time today, so you can enjoy some time with your families, okay? All right, so let's get right into the story. It's called Moses Was Born and Called. So called doesn't mean by the phone, like he wasn't called on the phone. Called means that God had a purpose for him, that he had a vision and I want to say calling because that's the word that they're using, but he had something he wanted him to do, all right? And so he called him to do it. So this is found in Exodus 1, 8 and 2, verse 10, as well as 23, 25, and 3, Exodus 3, verses 1 through 4, and then 20. So this is a long story, just like Joseph's was. It's throughout the Bible, throughout several sections of Exodus. All right, so let's get right into our felt story this morning. So years after Joseph brought his family to Egypt, remember he brought Jacob, his dad, and all his brothers and took care of them when the famine was happening. He made sure they had plenty of food, and he brought his entire family to live with him, and they enjoyed their last years together. And the reason I say that is because Joseph actually passed away. So Joseph had gotten older. I didn't have a felt of Joseph being old, but he wasn't the young man anymore. He was an old man. He lived a very good, long life, and his family grew. All right. So he passed away, and it's kind of neat to think that right now, as we speak, Joseph is in heaven, and he is with his heavenly Father, our heavenly Father. And so that's just kind of cool to know that he's living up in heaven and just enjoying life with his Savior. And we'll be there too one day and get to see him and meet Joseph in person. So that's really, really cool. All right, so Joseph died. His family stayed in Egypt. So everybody kind of stayed in the land that they were brought to. And it's what they were used to, all right? And the people in the family were known as Israelites. Now, do you remember what Jacob's name, the new name that he was given, that God gave Jacob? Do you remember what it was? It was Israel, all right? So Jacob's new name was Israel. And that's why his people, all his, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they ended up being called Israelites because they were all descendants of Jacob. Now, a new Pharaoh was in role now. So Joseph is gone, the old Pharaoh is gone, and now there's a new Pharaoh, okay? We're going to have to wait and see what this Pharaoh was like, all right? So a new Pharaoh came into power, and he was afraid of the Israelites. Doesn't that seem a little weird to be afraid of a group of people, especially when they were God-loving, good people? But he was afraid of them, and there was a reason for this. The family had grown so big, all right? So here we go. The family grew and grew and grew So there were lots and lots of people, okay, that were now in the land of Egypt. And the Pharaoh, they weren't his people, okay? So you had the people of Egypt, and then you had the Israelites living in the land of Egypt. And this made the Pharaoh very nervous. He loved his power, and he loved that he was in control and could rule the people. But the Israelites followed a different leader. Who did they follow? They followed God. So God was their leader. And even though they respected the Pharaoh and they respected the land they lived in, their true leader was God. And there was lots of them. I can't even put them all on this felt board. I don't have enough felts to show you how many Israelites there were in the land of Egypt. So this made him very nervous, and he was afraid of them. The family had grown so big that the Pharaoh thought, what if they joined Egypt's enemies and fought against the king, fought against the Pharaoh? So his thought process is, there's so many of them, and they don't really follow me as their leader, they follow God as their leader. So what if they all turn on me and join my enemies from other countries and other lands and decide to join this big mass army and try to kill me or to take over my power? So he was very nervous, and the Pharaoh tried to make the Israelites weak. So what he did was he took all these good people and he made them slaves. Now, a slave means that they had to work for free. They had to work very, very hard. So they weren't getting any money for their labor, and they were being a lot of times beaten to continue working even when they were exhausted and tired and just wanted to go home to their families. And he kind of put them in this poor place to live, and the housing wasn't very nice. Some of them were just tents, and they worked really, really hard through blood and sweat. And some of them were hurt, some of them died, some of them were killed by the soldiers and the guards of Pharaoh's army. And it wasn't good to be a slave. They were treated very, very poorly. So he did this to keep them weak, so that they wouldn't rise up and fight him and take over his power. So he made them all slaves, and he gave them very hard work to do. But their families kept growing. Okay, so even though they were slaves, and even though he kind of kept them in a lowly state, they were still growing, having lots of kids, and just like God promised Abraham, their family and their generations were growing and growing and growing. So Pharaoh has this idea, and it's a horrible idea. It is an evil idea. He decides that he wants to kill all the baby boys. Okay, so he didn't want any boys growing up and joining an army. Like, this sounds a little paranoid, don't you think? I think the Pharaoh was a little bit ridiculous. But this was what he had in his head. If I kill all the baby boys, they won't grow up to be men, and they won't join an army. So he says, kill all the baby boys. But the Hebrew midwives, so there was women that took care of all the kids, kind of like nannies or nursemaids or, babysitter. They would take care of the babies. And while the other moms and able-bodied people were out working as slaves. So the midwives refused to do this. They kind of hid the babies. So they took the babies and they were like, nope, Pharaoh, we are not going to let you hurt these babies. So the midwives, they had actually, been taking care of the baby since birth, and they said, no, we will not do that. And they didn't do what the Pharaoh said. They kind of ignored it and just kind of kept taking care of the babies. So then he had another idea, and he said, let's throw every Hebrew baby, so every Israelite baby, into the Nile River. That's horrible. That is horrible. And so the Pharaoh was not a very nice man. All that he cared about was power. He didn't care about people. He definitely didn't care about babies. So around this time, a Hebrew woman gave birth to a son. All right. So I have her here. So we'll change this. Give her a little rock to sit on here. So a Hebrew woman gave birth to a son. She hid him as long as she possibly could. So she knew that the Pharaoh was gathering up babies. So he was actually doing what he said he was going to do. He threatened to kill the babies. He wanted to kill the babies. And that's what he did. He started to gather them up, and he started to kill these Israelite babies who were completely innocent and did nothing wrong. It was just because he was so afraid of losing his power. But this Hebrew woman, she hid the baby, and then she had this idea. And she decided to put the baby into a basket. Now this is the Nile. The Nile ran through Egypt. Okay, so she takes her baby, and she puts the baby in a basket. And she covers the baby to hide him. Now that would have been really, really hard for a mom to do this. This had to take a lot of faith in God, knowing that God would protect her baby. So she puts the baby in the Nile, and the baby floats down the Nile. Now, the baby had an older sister. And her name was Miriam. Did you ever hear of the name Miriam? Okay, so Miriam was there. She kind of watched as her mother, put this baby into the basket. And she stayed nearby and she watched the basket. So the mom was too upset. So the mom left. She couldn't bear to watch her baby float away. But the sister wanted to make sure her brother was safe. So she watched the basket as it floated down the Nile. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to take a bath. So Pharaoh's daughter, the river kind of flowed to the palace. Okay, the river flowed, kind of passed through the palace. So imagine this has floated down the river. Miriam stayed and kind of hid behind the reeds. Like she'd stay back here and she watched as the baby floated down. All right, so we're going to change the scenery a little bit. Now they're getting to be near the palace. So this is Pharaoh's daughter. And this little basket filled with the little baby floats down the Nile River and kind of ends up by the palace. And Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to take a bath. Okay, so she goes down from the palace. Maybe the palace is over this way. And she walks down and she's ready to take a bath in the river. She finds the basket and she saw the baby crying. So she wonders, what is in this basket? Opens up the lid and realizes there's a baby floating in this basket. And like I said, Miriam is kind of watching. She wants to make sure her brother's safe, and she also doesn't want to get caught. Pharaoh's daughter felt sorry for the baby and decided to make the baby her own son. So she just figured this baby was orphaned, this baby was given away, and she wanted a baby. So she was like, hey, here's a baby. I'm going to take care of this baby and make him my own, make him my son. So then Miriam had an idea. So she's watching this whole thing happen. She now realizes her brother has made it down the river safely. Now this very important princess, Pharaoh's daughter, has found, the baby, and Miriam can see that she loves the baby, that she wants to take care of the baby. And Miriam gets an idea. So Miriam decides, I'm going to put this over here. Actually, we'll just take it down. Miriam decides to be brave, trust in God, and she approaches Pharaoh's daughter. And Miriam offered to find a woman to nurse the baby until he was older. Okay, so since the Pharaoh's daughter wasn't the real mom, she couldn't nurse the baby. So Miriam said, I know a woman that can nurse the baby. Who do you think she was thinking of? Who do you think she was going to go get to be a nursemaid, for this baby who is now claimed as Pharaoh's daughter's son? It was her own mom. Yeah, so Miriam is really smart. All right, she's a very smart young lady in the Bible. So she's like, oh, I know somebody. I'll go get her, and she will help you nurse this baby. She'll help you take care of this baby. She'll be like the baby's nanny to you. And here it's his own mom. So how cool was that God had this plan that he was going to protect this baby and even bring the baby's mom back into his life in one way or another. Now, she couldn't say that was her son, but she could at least watch him grow up and love on him and be his nanny. While Pharaoh's daughter, claimed him as her son. So it's not an ideal situation, but it was really the best situation that could have worked out in that time because it kept this baby alive. And his mom and sister still got to see him because they both ended up working in the palace alongside Pharaoh's daughter. So the princess agreed. And so Miriam brought her mother, like I said, she brought her mother to care for the baby. I'm going to put her on this rock for now because she's always sitting, which you'll see later why she's sitting like that. Okay. And the princess named the baby. So she is the one that came up with the name. And guess what the baby's name was? It was Moses. Yes. So this is baby Moses. And we hear a lot about Moses in the Bible. So this is how his life began. All right. So it's pretty cool. Now when Moses grew up, so his mom gets to raise him the entire time, which is really cool. Okay, so when Moses grew up, he had to leave Egypt. And Moses worked as a shepherd for many years. So here we'll show you the palace. Put this here by the window. Put Miriam here in the corner. This is why Moses' birth mom was seated. All right, and she gets to be back with her baby Moses. We'll put the princess over here. So there we go. So she got to live in the palace with the princess, her daughter Miriam, and they got to spend all this time with Moses and take care of him. While the princess did her princess duties, but she still loved Moses very well. And Moses was really taken care of. So God really protected this young man while he was in the palace. Okay, so like I said, Moses was a shepherd. You guys have heard of shepherds, I'm sure. And Moses grew up. So here's Moses. He's a fully grown man now. And he was a shepherd for many, many, many years. So he would be out with the livestock, the sheep, and that's what he did. He loved animals, and he helped out with the animals of Egypt. Now the Israelite people in Egypt were still very miserable. Okay, so he got to grow up as a man of the palace, so he was very well taken care of. But his people, the Israelites, his family, were still being mistreated. They were still being treated as slaves and worked very hard, and some of them were being hurt and killed. And his people were crying out to help. So while Moses was going about his life and being a shepherd, his people started to pray to God and cry out to God and say, "We need help. We are hurting here, and we can't be slaves anymore. We want to be free. So God, please save us." So God heard them, because God listens to all our prayers and our cries for help. He knows our hearts and our minds and how we're hurting and what we need. And he planned to send Moses to help them. So God had this plan all along, even when he was a little baby in that basket. He had this plan to use Moses to help his people. Sound familiar? Yeah, he uses how he used Joseph and Jacob and Abraham. God has a way of using broken people and humans that are sinners to do great things. So one day Moses was out with his flock of sheep, and there were some bushes and trees, and he would hang out here with his animals. And he saw a burning bush. Now this was a very strange bush, because there was really no reason for it to be on fire. He didn't set it on fire. There was nobody there with matches or anything to set it on fire, so he had no idea why this bush was burning. And the bush was not burning up. So not only was, see these pretty flowers on here? I picked that on purpose, because if this bush was fully engulfed in flames, all these flowers would be gone, there'd be no greenery, there'd be just twigs, burn up twigs and branches. So he was drawn to this right away, because he noticed this bush was burning and not burning up. It still looked like a beautiful bush. It just had flame. It was just engulfed in flames. So what does that sound like? That sounds like a God thing, for sure. Okay. So suddenly God called from the bush. So he hears God's voice from this bush, and he says, "Moses, Moses." Can you imagine? This bush is burning up. This bush is burning. It's fully engulfed in flames, but it's not burning up. It's still intact. And then you hear a voice, and it's the voice of God calling to you, saying, "Moses, Moses." That would be incredible. And Moses replied, "Here I am. I'm here, God. Here I am." And God told Moses to take off his sandals. Then God said, "I have seen how my people are suffering. I want you to lead them out of Egypt to a good land that I have for them." Okay, so God had a plan to get his people out of Egypt so they would stop being slaves, stop being hurt and killed, and be free, and to a new land, a land that he promised, and what people call the Promised Land, which I'm sure you've heard about, and we will be talking more about that as the weeks go on. Moses wondered if the Israelites even remembered God, because they had been through so much. They have been slaves for many, many, many years now. This is way past the time of Joseph, and they have seen a lot of heartache and a lot of pain and a lot of death. So he was wondering, do they even remember God? Or are they just so angry and hurt and broken down that, are they forgetting who they are? Okay. What if they ask for your name, and what should I tell them? So Moses is asking God, who is represented as this burning bush. He's like, well, what if they ask for your name? How will they trust me? How will they know that I am from you? How will they know I'm a man of God, and that I'm your messenger? And then God said, "I am who I am. Tell them, I am has sent me to you." So that's pretty bold. He's saying, hey, I am who I am. I'm always going to be God. He always will be God. And that's what God was saying. He's like, hey, I've always been God. I always will be God. And I have not changed. Their circumstances may have changed, but I have not changed. I am still the same God that they always knew. So tell him, I am has sent me to you. And Moses said, what if they don't believe me? So Moses is still very doubtful. He's nervous. He's scared. He doesn't know if this plan's going to work. He's forgetting kind of who God is. And he says, what if they don't believe me? So God gave Moses 3 miraculous signs to prove that God had appeared to him. So Moses' staff. So the first sign, so people that worked with animals, they always had a staff. So shepherds had staffs so they could kind of lead and guide and prod the animals and the sheep to do what they needed them to do, to move to the next place they needed to be. And so the first sign that God gave Moses to show the people was that he could turn this staff into a snake. Now that's a pretty powerful sign. So that was the first one. His hand also became diseased. So not only could he turn his staff into a snake, his hand became diseased. So it got like bumps on it and rashes and sores. And he was able to show the people, look at my hand, look how bumped up and sore it is. And then it was healed before their eyes. So God gave him that ability. So not only could he turn a staff into a snake, he could turn his hand into a diseased hand and then show people that it was healed. And only God could do that. If they still do not believe, God said, pour on the ground water from the Nile River. So gather up some water from the Nile River, he said, and pour it out. He said, and it will pour out and turn into blood. All right, so these are 3 miraculous signs that God used to show the people that Moses was a man of God and that Moses was given power and leadership from God to help these people. Moses made excuses. So Moses is still like really nervous about doing this. And he just keeps making excuses. Like, does it have to be me? Can it be somebody else? Or do you think they're going to believe me? Are they going to listen? And he begged God, please send someone else. And now God was angry. But he did agree to send Moses' brother Aaron with him. So even though God was angry at Moses for not jumping at this and having faith and believing him, he knew he was human, and he knew that humans get scared and humans get nervous and humans doubt themselves. And so he decided to let his brother Aaron go with him. So God is good, and God will always take care of us. So the story seems like it ends in a weird spot, but it's going to get really awesome. The story is going to grow and be great, and or even better, I should say. It's already a pretty great story. So we're going to learn more about that next week. But that's actually where the story ends today, is that he has finally agreed. God allowed him to send his brother Aaron with him, and they're going to go on this mission to save the Israelites. All right. So I told you today it's going to be a little shorter, so we're not going to do an activity, but I am going to ask you the questions to see how well you were following the story. Okay? So here we go. Number 1, what did the Hebrew woman put her son in along the banks of the Nile River? What did she put her son in to float him down the river? Yep, it was a basket. That's what she did. Number 2, who watched to see what would happen to the baby? So who stayed around to make sure the baby was safe? Miriam, right? His really smart older sister who had some great ideas. Number 3, who saw the basket and felt sorry for the baby? So who came down to take a bath in the river? Pharaoh's daughter. Yes, that's exactly right. Number 4, who nursed and cared for Moses? So who did Miriam get to care for Moses as a kind of a nanny? Yeah, it's a cool story. It shows you how awesome God is. It was his own mother. It was Moses' mother, his birth mother, is the one that came and took care of him and helped raise him and helped the princess take care of this and raise this boy. Number 5, who heard the Israelites' cries? So when the Israelites were crying out because they were so tired of being slaves and tired of being mistreated, who heard their cry? It might be tricky. You might be thinking of Moses. Was it Moses? No, it was God. God heard their cries and then went to Moses and talked to him to get him to help them. All right, number 6. From what did God call out to Moses? So what did God use to get Moses' attention, and then his voice came through that? That's right, this amazing burning bush that never burn up. I just think it's neat sometimes how God presents himself and what signs he uses to kind of get people's attention. And this one was a pretty cool one. All right, number 7. We have a few more. Stay with me. What was God's plan for Moses? So why did he do this? Why did this whole thing happen, from when he was a baby to being raised in Egypt, and then being called by a burning bush? Why did he do all this? It was to lead God's people out of Egypt. So Moses is going to do a great thing. He's going to lead his people, God's people, out of Egypt. Number 8, who did God say he is? This is important. This is when God makes it very clear and very bold. Who did he say he was when Moses said, how do I tell them that this is from you, or that it's you? How do I remind them that you are God? And God says, I am who I am. Never changes. All right? And they should remember that, because I've never changed. That's what God says. Number 9, what is God's plan? All right, this is our key verse that we keep saying every week. What is God's plan? God's plan is to rescue his people from a captivity, and God's plan, his perfect plan, never fails. All right? So it's a really, really cool story. Happy Easter again. I hope you enjoy the beauty of Easter. Enjoy your time with your family. Enjoy your candy. That's okay. That's from God too. God made candy, so you can enjoy that. But don't forget what Easter is really about, and it's about how Jesus died for our sins and how much he loves us. And I love you too. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week. Bye.